Your mechanic just grabbed what looks like a doctor's stethoscope and started listening to your engine like it has a heartbeat. You are probably thinking this guy's either crazy or trying to look professional while charging you $120 per hour. The truth is that automotive stethoscope is one of the most powerful diagnostic tools in any shop, and it can save you hundreds of dollars in unnecessary repairs. Welcome to Built-in Boost, where we break down the hype, cut through the marketing, and give you the real story behind the badge. Most car owners have no idea what mechanics are actually listening for when they put that stethoscope on different parts of your engine. Like this video if you want to learn the secrets mechanics use to pinpoint expensive problems in seconds instead of guessing. Number 1. Finding engine knock. Engine knock is one of the most expensive problems your mechanic hunts for, and your ears alone cannot catch it early enough to prevent major damage. When your mechanic places that stethoscope on your engine block, they are listening for a distinct metallic pinging sound that happens when fuel ignites too early in the combustion chamber. This premature ignition creates shock waves that literally hammer your pistons and connecting rods, and it can destroy your engine in just a few thousand miles if left unchecked. That stethoscope amplifies these sounds so your mechanic can pinpoint exactly which cylinder is knocking and how severe the problem has become. Regular engine noise masks this sound, but the stethoscope cuts through all that interference. Your mechanic moves the stethoscope around different parts of the block because knock sounds different depending on where they listen. Near the spark plugs, it sounds like marbles rattling in a can. Down by the oil pan, it creates a deeper metallic tapping that gets worse under acceleration. Catching engine knock early saves you from a complete engine rebuild that costs $4,000 to $8,000. Most knock problems start with cheap gas, carbon buildup, or incorrect timing, and fixing these root causes costs under $300. Without that stethoscope, mechanics would have to guess or wait until the damage becomes obvious through expensive compression tests or complete engine failure. Number 2. Bad bearing. Sounds. Your engine bearings are like the cushions that keep metal parts from grinding against each other, and when they start failing, that stethoscope becomes your mechanic's best friend for catching the problem before your engine seizes up completely. Bad bearings create a very specific knocking sound that is different from engine knock, and experienced mechanics can tell the difference immediately through their stethoscope. When your mechanic places the stethoscope on the oil pan or engine block, failing bearings produce a deep, rhythmic knocking that gets louder as engine RPM increases. Rod bearings sound like someone hammering on metal with a steady beat, while main bearings create a lower, more consistent rumbling noise. The stethoscope helps your mechanic determine if the noise is coming from the top or bottom of the engine, which tells them exactly which bearings are failing. Catching bad bearings early can save you thousands of dollars in engine damage. If your mechanic hears bearing noise through that stethoscope, you are looking at $800 to $2,500 for bearing replacement depending on your car. But if those bearings completely fail and seize your engine, you are facing a complete engine rebuild or replacement that costs $4,000 to $8,000. The stethoscope allows mechanics to hear bearing problems weeks or months before they become catastrophic failures, giving you time to plan and budget for the repair instead of being stranded with a dead engine. Number 3. Water pump issues. Your water pump keeps coolant flowing through your engine, and when it starts failing, that stethoscope helps your mechanic catch the problem before your engine overheats and warps the cylinder head. Water pump failure is sneaky because it often starts with small internal problems that you cannot see from the outside, but your mechanic can definitely hear them through a stethoscope. When your mechanic places the stethoscope on the water pump housing, a failing pump creates a distinct grinding or squealing noise that sounds different from belt noise or other engine sounds. The internal impeller might be loose, the bearings could be wearing out, or the pump shaft might be wobbling inside the housing. Each of these problems creates its own unique sound signature that experienced mechanics recognize immediately. The stethoscope also helps mechanics distinguish between water pump noise and other problems in the same area, like alternator bearings or belt tensioner issues. Without the stethoscope, mechanics might waste time removing parts to inspect them visually, which adds to your labor costs. A failing water pump replacement typically costs $300 to $800 depending on your vehicle, but if the pump fails completely and your engine overheats, you could be looking at $1,500 to $4,000 in additional damage from warped heads or blown head gaskets. That stethoscope helps catch the problem while it is still a simple pump replacement instead of a major engine repair. Number 4. Timing chain problems. Your timing chain keeps your engine's valves and pistons perfectly synchronized, and when it starts stretching or the tensioners fail, that stethoscope becomes critical for diagnosing the problem before your valves crash into your pistons and destroy your engine. Timing chain issues create very specific rattling sounds that are easy to miss without proper amplification, but they spell disaster if ignored. When your mechanic places the stethoscope near the timing chain cover, a stretched chain creates a metallic rattling noise that is most noticeable during startup when oil pressure is low. Failed chain tensioners sound like loose metal parts bouncing around inside your engine, while worn chain guides create a scraping noise that gets worse as the engine warms up. The stethoscope helps your mechanic pinpoint whether the noise is coming from the timing chain area or somewhere else entirely. Timing chain problems are expensive to ignore because when chains jump time or break completely, your valves can hit your pistons and cause catastrophic engine damage. Replacing a stretched timing chain and tensioners typically costs $800 to $1,800, but if the chain jumps time and damages valves or pistons, you are looking at $3,000 to $6,000 in repairs. The stethoscope allows mechanics to hear timing chain stretch or tensioner failure weeks before complete failure occurs, giving you time to schedule the repair before it becomes an emergency tow and major engine rebuild. Number 5. Valve train. Noise. Your valve train controls when air and fuel enter your engine and when exhaust gases leave, and when these components start wearing out, that stethoscope helps your mechanic identify exactly which part is failing before it causes major engine damage. Valve train noise can come from several different components, and each one creates its own distinct sound pattern that experienced mechanics recognize through their stethoscope. When your mechanic places the stethoscope on the valve cover or cylinder head, worn valve lifters create a consistent ticking noise that sounds like typing on a keyboard. Worn rocker arms produce a different metallic tapping that changes with engine RPM, while bent push rods create an irregular knocking sound. Bad valve guides make a distinct rattling noise that happens only when the valves open and close, and worn camshaft lobes create a grinding sound mixed with irregular ticking. The stethoscope helps mechanics distinguish between these different valve train problems because they all happen in the same general area of your engine. Without proper diagnosis, you might end up replacing the wrong parts and still have the noise. Fixing valve train issues early typically costs $200 to $800, depending on which components need replacement, but ignoring these sounds can lead to dropped valve seats, bent valves, or damaged pistons that require $2,000 to $5,000 in engine rebuilding. That stethoscope prevents guesswork and ensures your mechanic fixes the right problem the first time. Number 6. Alternator problems. Your alternator keeps your battery charged and powers all your electrical systems, and when its internal bearings start failing, that stethoscope helps your mechanic catch the problem before you get stranded with a dead battery and no way to start your car. Alternator problems create very specific sounds that can be hard to pinpoint without amplification, especially when your engine is running and masking quieter noises. When your mechanic places the stethoscope directly on the alternator housing, failing bearings create a grinding or whining noise that gets worse as engine RPM increases. Bad alternator brushes produce a scratching sound mixed with electrical crackling, while a failing rotor creates an irregular grinding noise that comes and goes. The stethoscope also helps mechanics determine if squealing noises are coming from the alternator bearings or just a loose belt that needs adjustment. Without the stethoscope, mechanics might replace belts and tensioners trying to eliminate noise that is actually coming from inside the alternator itself. A failing alternator replacement typically costs $300 to $600 for most vehicles, but if the alternator fails completely while driving, you could end up paying $150 to $300 for emergency towing, plus the replacement cost. The stethoscope allows mechanics to hear alternator bearing failure weeks before complete breakdown, giving you time to replace it on your schedule instead of being stuck on the side of the road with a dead electrical system. Number 7. AC compressor failure. Your AC compressor is one of the most expensive components in your air conditioning system, and when it starts failing, that stethoscope helps your mechanic catch the problem before the compressor seizes up and sends metal shavings throughout your entire AC system. AC compressor problems create distinct sounds that are easy to miss when your engine is running, but they can cause thousands of dollars in damage if ignored. When your mechanic places the stethoscope on the AC compressor housing, failing internal bearings create a grinding noise that gets louder when the AC clutch engages. A seized compressor produces a loud squealing sound mixed with metallic grinding, while worn compressor pistons create a knocking noise that happens only when the AC is running. Bad compressor clutch bearings make a constant whining sound even when the AC is off, and the stethoscope helps mechanics pinpoint whether the noise is coming from the clutch or internal compressor components. Catching AC compressor problems early can save you serious money because a seized compressor sends metal debris through your entire system. Replacing just the compressor typically costs $800 to $1,500, but if metal shavings contaminate your system, you need a complete AC system flush and component replacement that costs $2,000 to $3,500. The stethoscope allows mechanics to hear compressor bearing failure before seizure occurs, preventing contamination and keeping your repair costs manageable instead of requiring a complete system overhaul. Number 8. Power steering issues. Your power steering system makes turning your wheel effortless, and when the pump starts failing, that stethoscope helps your mechanic diagnose the problem before you lose power assistance and struggle to control your vehicle. Power steering problems create specific sounds that can be confused with other engine noises, but the stethoscope eliminates guesswork and pinpoints the exact source of trouble. When your mechanic places the stethoscope on the power steering pump, failing internal components create a whining noise that gets louder when you turn the steering wheel. Low power steering fluid produces a distinctive groaning sound mixed with air bubbles, while worn pump bearings create a grinding noise that happens constantly regardless of steering input. Bad power steering pulleys make a squealing sound that changes with engine RPM, and the stethoscope helps mechanics determine if the noise is coming from the pump itself or external components like belts and pulleys. Power steering pump failure can be dangerous because losing power assist makes your vehicle hard to control, especially during emergency actions or parking. Replacing a failing power steering pump typically costs $300 to $700 $700, but ignoring the problem can damage your steering rack, which costs $800 to $1,800 to replace. The stethoscope allows mechanics to catch pump problems before complete failure, ensuring you maintain safe vehicle control and avoid more expensive steering system damage that leaves you stranded with a car that is nearly impossible to steer. Now you know why that stethoscope is not just for show when your mechanic pulls it out during your next visit. This simple tool saves car owners thousands of dollars every year by catching expensive problems before they become catastrophic failures. Your mechanic is literally listening to your engine's heartbeat and diagnosing problems that could leave you stranded or broke. Next time you see that stethoscope come out, you will understand exactly what your mechanic is hunting for under your hood. Hit that like button if this saved you money, subscribe for more money-saving car tips, and drop a comment telling us what weird noises your car makes that you want us to explain next.